Another May 4th, and Lucasfilm gives us yet another Tales series, this time Tales of the Underworld. This entry dives into the lives of Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane, offering new insights into their pasts and personal transformations. And the first arc focuses on Asajj Ventress. It explores exactly how she was revived, too, following her death in the novel Dark Disciple, of which explains why her later appearance in the Bad Batch even happened. Personally, I've never been a fan of resurrecting dead characters, and I was even concerned that maybe, just maybe, Filoni might have outright retconned Ventress's death from the novel. Thankfully, that wasn't the case here, but even so, I still found the revival rather lazy. As in the episode A Way Forward, Ventress is resurrected on Dathomir by the spirit of Mother Talzin through Night Sister magic. And Talzin gives her a choice, either stay dead with her fallen sisters or return to living. And she chooses life, setting the stage for a redemption arc. And that's basically it. Talzin is just like, hey girl, you're dead, but you don't have to be. And that's the whole thing. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience. Years later, during the time of the Empire, Ventress is seen working modestly as a shuttle security officer on a desert planet. She then crosses paths with Lyco Strata, who turns out to be a teenage Jedi Padawan searching for the Path, which is a secret network established by Quinlan Vos to help Force sensitives escape Imperial persecution. And Ventress, I suppose, being softened by her time with Omega, decides to aid Lyco on his journey throughout her arc here, gradually embracing a protective role and distancing herself from her assassin past. Throughout this journey, she ends up facing off against an Inquisitor, gets betrayed by her former bounty hunter buddies during a mission at an Imperial shipyard, and later even helps mediate peace between a disabled former separatist and some local aliens after it turns out that he'd been unknowingly stealing water from them. Yeah, this arc concludes with Ventress then discovering that Quinlan Vos is indeed alive and leading the Path. But instead of taking the opportunity to reunite with him, she instead decides to continue living solo alone. And Lyco, influenced by her decision, also chooses not to join the Path and instead stays with Ventress, with the two riding off into the sunset together. And personally, I wasn't a fan of this, as Ventress's main reason for returning back to life was to reunite with Quinlan. And when that opportunity finally does come, what does she do? She backs out without any clear explanation. I mean, I guess you could argue that she's outgrown Quinlan now or just prefers being on her own, but I'm not buying that. Her entire motivation for coming back revolved around finding him, and then she just lets this go? It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not saying that she has to still stay in love with him, but at least see him again. I don't know, maybe they're laying the groundwork for a future Ventress solo series where she trains Lyco. Who knows? After all, we originally thought that this might be happening, but she's gonna be training Omega, but perhaps because Omega didn't really connect with the broader fan base all that much, then they swapped her out for a boy instead, and honestly, I'm not really too sold on Lyco yet either. We then have the second arc, which focuses on Cad Bane's origins, and surprisingly, when you think about it, we really didn't know too much about his backstory, well, until now. And as it turns out, he was born named Colby on the streets of Duro. And Bane's early life is marked here by hardships alongside his fellow street rat friend Nero, of which after a botched robbery results in Nero's arrest, with the two going their separate ways. Years later, Bane then returns to Duro after hearing about the death of his idol and gang leader Laszlo. of which he reunites with Nero, who's now a deputy, and confronts the marshal responsible for Laszlo's death, ultimately killing him in a duel. However, Bane is then persuaded to surrender to the police by his former girlfriend, Erin. Then, in the final episode, we learn that Bane is released from prison on a technicality and returns to Duro seeking revenge against Nero. Well, Nero, now a marshal himself, confronts Bane in a tragic duel that ends up with Bane killing Nero. It's then even revealed to Bane that Erin had married Nero during his time in prison and was even pregnant with Bane's child. But she has since passed away, and this has Bane deciding to leave Duro behind completely along with his son Isaac, highlighting, I guess, the personal cost of his own choices in being a bounty hunter. And overall, I found Tales of the Underworld to be, I'd say, decent and enjoyable for what it was. Aside from Ventress's revival, none of the stories here felt particularly major or world-shifting, which, let me just put this right away, is actually a good thing. They didn't need to be at all. I mean, as long as the writing is solid, then I'm fine with these smaller-scale stories. Sure, Ventress's arc had more action to it, more locations, and a wider range of characters, which did help keep it fresh, even if I wasn't a fan of the ending or the introduction of the Lyco character. Meanwhile, Bane's arc reused a lot of the same sets and characters, and yes, we did get 2 back-to-back duels against the Marshals. But hey, I didn't really mind it, as the whole Western vibe really worked for me. My only real nitpicks with Bane's story would be that Duro was portrayed as a more species diverse than I had originally expected it to be. Like, it had more humans and other alien species rather than primarily just Duros. And of course, the whole introduction of Bane's son felt a bit too tacked on for shock value in my opinion. Unless they really plan to do something interesting with the Isaac character down the line, then it felt kind of pointless if you ask me. As Bane never interacts with the kid, and we don't even know if the boy survives or even becomes relevant in any way. So, yeah, that'll depend on what Filoni and Lucasfilm decide to do with him next, if anything at all. That said, yeah, I enjoyed Tales of the Underworld. Maybe not quite as much as Tales of the Jedi, but definitely more than Tales of the Empire, that's for sure. Though I do wish we had gotten an arc focused on Jango Fett instead, but who knows? Maybe they're saving that for Tales of Mandalore.